learners. We're joined here today with John from the University of Cumbria, and I'm here on the call as well. I'm Abby, I'm the graduate intern for the Furnace area at Hello Future. This is the last session of the Hello Future live series, so we really hope you enjoy it, and without further ado, I'll hand over to John.
Brilliant, thanks Abby. So as mentioned, my name's John. I work as an outreach officer at the University of Cumbria and have been asked along today to talk to you in regards to applying to university as a mature student. So I'm just going to bring up my slides, share my slides with you, and I'll talk for roughly 25-30 minutes through the presentation. Conscious that this presentation is being recorded, so what I'll do once I share my screen, I'll just knock my web camera off so that hopefully it doesn't delay the slides at all. And I have taken all sort of transitions out the slides so that if you do want to pause and look and read any of the information on the slides on a recording when you're watching this back, hopefully that'll make that just a little bit easier to do so. So yeah, as Abby says, no further ado, I will make a start and look to share my screen now. So hopefully everybody should be able to see my presentation. So as I say, here today to talk to you about applying to university as a mature student. So just a little intro as to what we're going to discuss. What we'll look to cover is what it means being a mature student, and then what your options are and how to start your research. And what we'll mainly be discussing throughout this talk is your options in regards to undergraduate study. So looking at any undergraduate routes, how to apply to undergraduate full-time study will be the primary focus of what we discuss and how to start research around that. But there is obviously lots of other options of studying at higher education. It might be that you've already studied at undergraduate level and you're looking to return to postgraduate. And at the end of the presentation, I'll signpost how to find further information regards all of that. We'll take a look into, like I say, how to start your research. Really important aspect of considering university is how and when to start researching and what you need to look for. That'll bring us on to us looking into entry requirements, and maybe you're conscious of what entry requirements you may need for university. Maybe you're really at a fresh start of thinking about, well, what do I need? Where do I look for going about achieving the entry requirements to allow me to progress to university and higher education? And then we'll look at how and when to apply. And what we'll look at mainly when we're talking about that is something that you may have heard of or may not have heard of, which is absolutely fine, but something called UCAS. So if you hear me refer to UCAS throughout the presentation, then do be aware that as we come on to how and when to apply, I'll explain in a little bit more detail what UCAS is, what that means, and if you've heard that phrase a lot, then how you can look to use UCAS to apply and what UCAS is essentially. And then finally, we'll just really quickly highlight student finance, because it is a really important aspect to consider, especially as a mature student. You know, you maybe have certain financial commitments at the moment, you've got your own context to consider, and you may have heard of student finance, be aware of student finance, but what does that mean, and what does that mean for you as an individual? And again, we'll signpost onto where you can find out more information about student finance. And then we'll just finish with some next steps, what we recommend you maybe do next, following on from a presentation like this, if you are interested in going to university. So yeah, what is a mature student? You might be sat thinking, well, do I class as a mature student? What is a mature student? What does that really mean? Well, a mature student is defined as any student aged 21 or over at the start of their studies. And here's that word I mentioned. UCAS data shows that just over half of mature students are aged between 21 and 24, 38% aged between 25 and 39, and 10% of that cohort are over 40. So it might be that helps you think, right, well, actually, I'm aged over 21, therefore I would class as a mature student, and you know, that means I can look for information and sessions like this and further support as regards to applying to university as a mature student, or look for support available in different universities for mature students. And then on the various slides that we go through today, hopefully you'll notice these sort of big pink circles I've put into the presentation that usually pop up, but like I say, I've just put them all on the one slide for the purpose of the recording. Is the did you know fact of this slide. So in 2018-19, 53% of full-time undergraduate students at the University of Cumbria were mature students, and that includes new entrants and continuers. So if you're thinking you're in a position, you may be looking to consider university, consider applying to a degree, but thinking about, well, what does it look like for me? And I'm aged over 21 and everybody at university is going to be a certain age, or you've got a certain view on what university might look like, what university campus life might look like. That's just something to consider from our cohort of students. It will be different at every university, but 53% of full-time undergraduate students at the University of Cumbria were mature students in 18-19. So it gives you that sense of on campus, on the courses that you'll be studying, it's likely that there'll be other students aged over 21 for you to, get to know if you wish to, or for you to get a sense of that feeling that other people are in that same situation you are, that same context of maybe they've looked for different reasons to enroll at the time of life that they have. So really just to give you that sense that you may not be the only person aged over 21 on your course. You certainly won't be the only person aged over 21 studying at the University of Cumbria. And also I'm sure that will apply to other universities as well. And then just highlighting there some of the reasons mature students look to enroll. It might be that one or two of these reasons apply to yourself as you're watching this presentation. Often students looking at a career change. So you've worked in a particular area, you're working full time at the moment, but you're really passionate about a career change and you're looking to, upscale, gain a qualification in a certain area so that you can look to that career change. It might just be a real subject passion, a subject interest, a subject enthusiasm that you have, something that you're interested in and have always been interested in that you'd like to now study at higher education and at university. It might be, like mentioned, that you're just looking to upskill and enhance your current skills and prospects, or you're maybe restarting your studies after a break. Possibly you've finished university, you've finished sixth form or college, you always planned to go to university, but for whatever reason, you went away, went on gap years, you fell into a job, now you've worked a few years, but actually you're looking to restart your studies after that break and get back on track with what was your original plan. That is all different reasons that people would look to enroll. And obviously each and every individual has their own reasons really. So some of that might apply to you, or you might have a completely different reason, but there are lots of different reasons why as a mature student, you would look to enroll at university. And like I say, hopefully just some of those stats there and those figures on this slide help you to appreciate that you won't be the only person considering university as a mature student, and you won't be the only person at a campus or at a university that is a mature student. And hopefully that just helps to alleviate any maybe anxieties or questions that people maybe have around, well, what does university campus life look like? What will the other people be like on my course? There'll be a real mix, a real blend of people from all different ages, different backgrounds, for you to get to know and obviously be part of if you're looking to start at university. So thinking about that, then what your options are and maybe where to start in terms of thinking about those options. There's different types of undergraduate qualification, so numerous different types of study at higher education. Well, like I say, what we'll talk about through the next few slides in terms of how to apply and when to apply, we'll be talking mainly about full-time undergraduate honours degree programmes. But there's alternative study options such as foundation degrees, HNDs, HNCs, or even cert higher education diplomas in higher education. So it might be that you've studied, like I said at the start, some form of higher education already, and you're inquiring as to how you top up a foundation degree or how you can build on a HND that you studied at college. Or it might be that you're completely new to thinking about university. You want to study an honours degree, undergraduate programme, but you want to find out more information about how you apply and what it is you're interested in. So have a think about, well, what is right for you? What do you need to consider? So is it that you're looking at a particular course? You already know what that course is. Is it a particular type of qualification that you know about that you're interested in? What are the entry requirements for that qualification? Do you know? Do you know where to look? And that's all something we're going to talk through. And then what are the finance implications? How much does the course cost? Are you eligible for student finance? What's the timetable of study? Is it a full-time timetable? Are you looking to study part-time alongside some employment? All of that is to consider in regards to thinking about your options of when and where to start university. And that ultimately brings you to that research piece of, how do I start researching all of this information, and where am I best to start this research and find out more? And again, just the did you know on this slide is, you're welcome to attend or register to join if it's an online virtual open day with how things are operating at the moment. But you're welcome to attend or join any open day before you make decisions regards applying or not. Often when we speak to mature students on our course inquiry centre, or when we're out and about in the community, there's sometimes some confusion around, well, I'd like to go to an open day, but I haven't yet applied, or I'm not sure if I'm going to go to that university. You're absolutely welcome to attend any university, University of Cumbria's or other universities, open days, be it online or hopefully in the future back out on campuses, before you even make any of those decisions. So if you just wanted to find out more information about that university, you wanted to discuss your background, your interests with somebody in a department that you're interested in studying, say, for example, in healthcare, you just wanted to speak to somebody within that department, or you had questions about student finance, you're more than welcome to attend an open day, even if you're at the real beginning of your journey, if you like, in terms of considering university. So just a did you know there to keep in mind, and we'll come on to open days on the next slide and at the end of the session. So yeah, think about your research and where you can start. A real, best place to start would be just to have a look on a university website. If you've got a particular interest of studying maybe a certain course, or of a certain university you'd like to study at, then have a look on their website. They'll all have different course search functionalities. You'll be able to search via course of interest, or you'll be able to search by type of course, that kind of criteria, and have a look at what they offer, find out more about those courses. Quite often, university websites will have some built-in videos, maybe tutors explaining the course or introducing themselves, and you'll be able to just use that to your advantage to have a look at what the course is going to be like, what the study, the study methods are, how long is the course, everything like that you'll be able to find through the university website. Obviously, a little bit different at the moment with how things are, but there's often prospectuses that you'll be able to collect at places, at careers fairs, or out and about again in the community. We do at the moment, most universities will have downloadable digital prospectuses. So again, you'd be able to find that on the university website and have a read through those prospectuses, which outline the courses, outline the entry requirements, outline different pieces of information about the university. It might be that you're a current student at the moment. You may be studying on a course at college and you're thinking of applying on to university after you've completed that course at college. So you could speak to your current tutors. If you are a current student, they might be able to offer support and guidance around what they think is right for you, where, a course of interest to you. So make the most of the people around you like that. Again, different careers events at the moment with how things are. Obviously, a lot of careers events and different events that would usually happen around the year are kind of cancelled at the moment due to COVID limitations and restrictions. But a lot of these events are being held online in some form of digital online capacity. So keep an eye out for any events like that, like I say, like an open day where you can speak to people from relevant universities, from relevant staff teams, and use that to further your research. And then it might be that you want to speak to any friends and family around you who have maybe been to university themselves, or have an awareness of university, or maybe they know somebody who you can speak to. So again, just don't be sort of afraid, if you like, to speak out to those around you. This is what I'm considering doing. You'll be surprised at the different contacts people have that you maybe didn't realize, and then you might be able to go and make the most of that networking and speak to those people. And then highlighting open days again. So at an open day, there'll be all of the different staff teams from a university, either online or physically available to speak to if we get back to face-to-face events, where you'll be able to chat to admissions teams about entry requirements, chat to academic teams about their course and what it is that they offer on their course that makes their course different to, say, other universities. You'll be able to maybe speak to current students, student ambassadors, find out about their experience at the university. You'll be able to download, if it's an online event, download different information that is available for you to watch back in your own time. So really do make the most of any open days coming up, because that is a real source of information about that university, about any course that you're interested in. There's maybe a career service team that you speak to, local career service teams in Cumbria, such as Inspira, where you could maybe drop into different service events and speak to different careers advisors, different career service teams, help them understand what you're interested in. And again, they'll look to support and offer you advice and guidance around applying and around researching what's going to be right for you. And then just finally on this slide, look to explore any subject tasters. So again, often these can be in person, face-to-face, as and when we're allowed to get back to that. But here at the University of Cumbria, for example, we run different subject tasters online, such as our masterclass series, where academic teams deliver subject content from their course under a sort of masterclass series title, if you like. And it just looks to explore what studying at university is like, gives you that sense of the kind of topics you would discuss, how you would interact with the academic, and just gives you that flavour really of what university life might be like. Obviously, that's a little bit different at the moment online, but it is still a really interesting way to find out more about a subject and more about university. So look to sign up for any events like that if you notice those, or if you're looking to have interest in finding out more about a subject. And then on this slide, just did you know most universities will have a platform for you to chat to current students. So for ourselves at University of Cumbria, we use a platform called UniBuddy. So when you go on our website, often you'll see a little pop-up that'll appear, I think it's in the bottom right, that will ask, would you like to chat to a student? And what that'll bring you onto is a platform called UniBuddy, where you can look to chat to a student that is maybe studying a subject that you're interested in. So you're interested in studying law, then you'll be able to chat to a law student, or maybe a particular campus that you're interested in studying. You're interested in studying at Ambleside campus. Hopefully you'll be able to find a student that is currently studying at Ambleside. And then it's an online chat essentially, where you'll be able to chat back and forward with a current student, again, asking any questions you might have about their experiences. They might want to share with you what they like about the university. And again, different universities will all have similar features on their websites or through their functionality. So make the most of chatting to current students, especially with how things have been this last year or so. How have they found the transition to online learning? How does their timetable look? Are they getting back to face-to-face delivery? What's their plans for next year on their course? Have they spoke to their academic teams about that? And you'll get that real insight as to what university is like at the moment. And hopefully it might be that you can speak to a mature student who's had that experience of applying to university as a mature student, who's had that experience of starting and enrolling, and how did they feel, what was useful to them to know. And again, look to build that sort of bigger picture of what you need to know for your own research. So again, just something to look out for. So one of the main pieces of information that you'll come across when doing that research is the whole piece around entry requirements. So universities and colleges set their own entry requirements for higher education courses. And these entry requirements are set for each course to ensure you have the right skills and knowledge to successfully complete the course. So it isn't a case that they just make these entry requirements up to as and when they wish to. The entry requirements are set so that students who are enrolling on that course have the right skills and knowledge already to hopefully allow them to successfully complete the course, so that universities aren't setting anybody up to fail, enrolling students that haven't got that previous skill set or previous academic knowledge, and that would ultimately maybe hit some bumps down the road in terms of the work that you need to complete for that degree. So there is a reason that the entry requirements are set, and like I say, is hopefully so that you can successfully complete your course. What they'll usually include is any previous qualifications that you may have studied and their grades, but there may also be contextual admissions and contextual offers. And that's something that may be relevant to you as a mature student in regards to having maybe possible relatable experience, relevant experience from a job of work that you've done or any voluntary work that you do. any reason as to why you left study when you did, and maybe don't have the exact qualification that you would maybe necessarily need. So there's different contextual offers and contextual admissions at different universities. Quite often, what it will mean for mature students is if there's a band of an entry requirement, so the lowest you need to get in and the highest, say, that they accept, it might be that they will offer all mature students the lowest of that band, if you like. So you would need to achieve the lowest grade that possible, if you like, to get in, which will become clear on the next couple of slides that I go through. So yeah, it's important to know what the entry requirements are for the course that you're applying to. And it's also important to have an understanding of what you have previously studied, if anything. So if you have previously studied different qualifications at school, at sixth form, or at college, since you've left school, since you've left college, then do you have access to those certificates, or have you got it noted down somewhere what you achieved? Because you will need to know that in terms of being able to evidence and being able to know for yourself, do you meet the entry requirements to apply for a course? So that's just something to really consider if you haven't studied for a little while. Where are your old qualifications? What did you achieve? And have that collated and ready for if and when you do decide to apply. And then again, different universities will offer different transition sort of support. Here at the University of Cumbria, we offer a service called Head Start, which is an online study skills course. And it just hopefully helps you transition to life at university. So it may be that you know you meet the entry requirements because you studied a qualification recently or not so recently, but you know that you meet those entry requirements. You have an understanding of what that means and what university is, but you have concerns around the academic writing at university, referencing, or what campus is going to be like, how do you access the library, all of the kinds of questions that are around starting university. Then hopefully programs like Head Start can help support with that in terms of there'll be modules on there, there'll be content on there that you'll be able to access in terms of what's relevant to you. It may be that you're unsure about entry requirements and what they are. And again, we'll look to signpost as to how you can find out more information about that in a slide or so's time. So entry requirements continued here. It might be that the course that you're applying to will invite you for an interview. So often, for example, these are courses within healthcare professions or within education. You may be invited for an interview as part of the DBS checks, etc., and as part of the checks that need to happen for a course like that. So be prepared that you may be invited for an interview as part of your condition of an entry requirement. Or if you're applying for an arts-based course, so for example, theatre and performance, performance art, performing arts, dance-related courses, then you may be asked, or you're likely to be asked for an audition, because obviously you may have the academic background, or you may meet certain entry requirements academically, but you also need to be able to meet that sort of practical and obviously that performance element of any course like that. So you may be asked for an audition as well, which will be part of meeting the entry requirements to be made an offer. As really quickly mentioned, there might be further requirements such as DBS checks as well. So it's just important to consider that. And often what you'll see reference to in regards to entry requirements is UCAS tariff points. And I'll highlight on the next slide what we mean by this. And what it ultimately is a points total achieved by converting your qualifications, such as A-levels, or if you've studied or are studying an access to higher education diploma, into points, making it simpler for universities to compare applicants. Because if you think of how many applicants apply to university each year, all who have studied maybe slightly different combinations of A-levels or have studied on different BTEC diplomas or access to HE diplomas, to kind of simplify that process, they convert those qualifications into what we call UCAS points. And often what you'll see in entry requirements sections on websites or in prospectuses is they'll ask for entry requirements in UCAS points. So we'll come on to what UCAS points look like in a moment. And then again, just on this slide, did you know that if you don't meet the entry requirements for a course, there may be a relevant integrated foundation year offer at that university, or you may wish to consider studying an access to higher education diploma. An integrated foundation year is essentially an additional year on top of your 3 years undergraduate study. So if you're looking to study a 3 years undergraduate honours degree, but you don't quite meet those entry requirements, it might be if they have a relevant offer, the university make you an alternative offer to study their integrated foundation year, which is around upskilling, around getting that academic level up, as well as studying some subject specific content to then enroll you onto the full 3-year degree program the following academic year. Or it may be, if that isn't an option, you wish to consider studying an access to higher education diploma. An access to higher education diploma, they're often offered at local further education colleges, but they are offered online as well. You can study these courses online. And again, we'll mention more about how to find out more information about all of that at the end, but it might just be that you're not quite ready to meet the entry requirements for degree level study at the moment. So you look to study at a further education college for 1 year on a relevant access to HE diploma to help you meet the entry requirements for future application cycles. So when we talk about UCAS entry requirements, this is kind of what we're meaning. So you can research your course entry requirements on website search tools such as the UCAS website. And on the next slide, I'll define what we mean by UCAS. Hopefully you can kind of see, you might have to zoom in or look closely on these pictures. They're maybe not as big as I thought they would be. But what you'll see is a reference to UCAS tariff points. For example, on that first screenshot on the left-hand side, it refers to 96 to 112 points. And that's what I mean there by that band of entry requirements. So you can be accepted onto this course here, that screenshot, if you achieve between 96 and 112 UCAS points. And what you'll see below is the breakdown of what that means for different qualifications. So for example, if you've been studying A-levels, then the highest band to meet the 112 points will be to achieve BC, I think that is. I can't actually see with my eyes. And then the lowest band to meet 96 points is 3 Cs. So like we mentioned about the contextualized offer, it may be as a mature student that you may have made an offer where you need to meet the 96 and that's it. So you would know in your head, if you're either studying currently or you have previous qualifications, that you would be made an offer even if you just meet the lowest part of that entry requirement. Hopefully that makes sense to you all. And what you can look to do is use a tool on the UCAS website called the UCAS Tariff Calculator to check any qualifications you've previously studied or maybe that you're studying at the moment. So you can literally go onto the UCAS Tariff Calculator, put in A-level if it was A-levels that you've previously studied, or any current qualification you're studying, and put in the grade. And what it will highlight is the points that get allocated to that particular grade. So for example, a C at A-level gets 32 UCAS points. 2 Cs would therefore equal 64 UCAS points. And UCAS points are applied to all level 3 qualifications. So if you've studied any form of study at level 3 or equivalent, then when you put them into the UCAS tariff calculator, they should equal and add up some UCAS points for you. And then you can visit university websites to see any additional specific selection criteria they may have, or to find out who to contact for more information. So it is quite difficult to get your head around at times if you haven't studied in a little while, or you're not sure what you've previously studied, or you're currently studying a qualification and you're not sure what grades you're going to come out with or how it translates to UCAS points, and you're struggling to understand the word in regards to entry requirements. Then all universities will have somebody that you can contact. So for example, on that screenshot there, you can hopefully see at the bottom is a UG admissions email, our undergraduate admissions team, and it's on different course pages. Again, different universities will have similar arrangements where if you have any questions about entry requirements, you're able to contact a course inquiry team, an undergraduate admissions team, for them to explain in a little bit more detail what it is you'll need to apply for the course, or what it is you currently hold in terms of your current qualifications. So it can get a little bit complex. It can be hard to piece together if you've been out of education a little while, but don't let that phase you. Do just reach out and look to contact somebody, or look to make the most of the information that you can access to help piece together what it is you need to meet entry requirements or what you currently hold. So know that I'm talking on and conscious of time here. UCAS, you've heard me refer to UCAS throughout the presentation. So what is UCAS? Well, it is the University and Colleges Admissions Service. So it is really the go-to place to research any higher education university courses and different higher education providers, such as universities like ourselves. There's course search tools on there. There's information about how to apply, but there's also information about further education options, apprenticeships, different postgraduate options as well. And this service is used to make applications to undergraduate courses. So for those full-time undergraduate honours programs that kind of we're focusing on today, those 3-year degree programs, you would apply through UCAS, and you would use the UCAS website and register with UCAS to do so. And it's independent and funded by applicant payments and HEI. So it's an independent service that processes application and helps support you as a student in applying to university. Now, when to apply may differ depending on your sort of current situation and your context at the moment. But this is a rough breakdown really of in and around May time, you can register and start an application for the following academic year. So you will not be able to submit through UCAS until the following September. So it may be that if you're looking to study in September 2022 and it's now May 2021, that you can register and you can start your application, but you won't be able to submit for September 2022 until September 2021. And that'll be the same each cycle. So you'll be able to always look to register from May, but you can't start applying until that autumn for the following autumn. And then there's different deadlines to be aware of. So deadlines for universities such as Oxford and Cambridge and different courses in medicine and dentistry, for example, have an October equal consideration deadline. For all other undergraduate full-time courses, there's a January equal consideration deadline. You can still apply for university courses after January to start that following September, but it would be advisable to contact the university that you're interested in studying to see if they still have places on their course, to see if it's if they're going to still consider applications. So for example, the time of year that we're in now, middle of June, if you're looking to start September 2021 and you're thinking, how do I go about that? I want to get started. I don't want to wait until September 2022. Then you may still be able to apply for courses, for example, at the University of Cumbria and at other universities, but it would be advisable to contact the university and ask if they're still accepting applications. If they are, you'll be able to apply through UCAS. If they're not, they will recommend maybe an alternative offer, or they'll recommend to apply for that following September. And then into June, applications received after June, after the 30th of June, are entered into what's called clearing. And again, I'll signpost on to how we can look into more information about clearing, which is a slightly different application process for almost last minute applications to start that September. So from June onwards, so into July and August, if you're applying for that year's September, you will be applying through what's called clearing, which is a slightly different application process at times. So like mentioned, you register and apply online at ucas.com, and there'll be different sections for you to fill out as part of your online UCAS application. A personal details section, the choices that you're hoping to apply, that you're thinking of applying to, and like you can see in the top right there, you can apply for up to 5 choices as part of your UCAS application. So that might be 5 different universities, or it might be courses at the same university or a couple of universities, but you can apply for up to 5. And how many you apply to is totally up to yourself. You will be asked to enter your education history. So everything from sort of GCSE level study onwards, you'll be asked to enter into an education section of that application. You'll also be asked your employment history. If you do work at the moment, you'll be asked to put your current work job role in and employer in. If you don't, that's absolutely fine. It's just an employment history section that you'll need to complete and mark as complete no matter what your employment history looks like. And then you'll be asked to write a personal statement, and we'll talk more on the next slide really briefly about personal statements. And there's also the requirement for a reference, and again we'll come on to references in a slide or so's time. If you are a current student, so you're studying an Access to HE diploma, you're a current student at college on a course, then you can apply through that school or college, or you can apply as an individual. So if you're out of study at the moment, you're looking to apply as an individual, you can register as an individual. And then I mentioned you'll include various qualifications, and it's supported by your personal statement. So you might have heard of personal statements when speaking to people who've applied to university, or it might be something that's completely new to you and you think, well, what is a personal statement? Well, it's part of your UCAS application where you can write up to 4,000 characters, and it's written, but wrote by you, and it's about you. 4,000 characters isn't actually a huge piece of text. It'll be roughly around a page of A4, just over a page of A4. And it's your opportunity to sell yourself to the admissions tutor. And you'll look to include skills, experiences, and interests. And what it does is it helps universities to select their students using something other than just grades. So the information that they receive can be very sort of factual, the grades you've achieved, the academic profile you have, your employment history. This is your opportunity to write about your skills, your experiences, your interest in a particular course or course area. Different people find this a stressful experience, writing about themselves, writing about why they want to do something, write about themselves in a positive light. It can be quite tricky, but you only write one. So even if you're applying to all 5 of the choices that you're entitled to, you only write one personal statement. So hopefully with a bit of time and energy, focusing in on what you want to include, you can look to get something down on paper, hopefully do maybe a couple of drafts, perfect one that you like, and then look to upload that to your application. And really quickly, what you'd be looking to include is why they should choose you, essentially. What is it about you? What is it about your interests in the course? Why would they look to choose you and offer you a place at their university? You might want to talk about previous achievements, maybe academic or outside of academia. So for example, sporting achievements or volunteering achievements, anything that's relevant to what you're applying to or that helps you stand out as an individual. You may want to talk about your ambitions and motivation. So if it is a career change, for example, that you're in the middle of, what are your motivations behind that? Why is it that you're looking to apply to university as a mature student? What's your ambition for the future? Are you looking to work in a certain sector? Do you have a certain job that you would like to achieve on completion of your degree? What is it about your own life and work experience that helps you stand out? Have you had sort of a recent experience that's helped influence your decision to apply to university as a mature student? So all things that you can look to include and also any hobbies and interests that you may have, again, helps if they're relevant to or can help highlight relevant skills to the course that you're applying to. I'll mention at the end, but there is further information available on how to apply, on how to write a personal statement, and I'll talk about where you can access that at the end of the presentation. There's lots and lots of resource out there around how to apply to university and support with writing a personal statement. So yeah, hopefully this is just an introduction to that. And then bringing us on to the sort of final part of how to apply, really, in terms of that application process on UCAS, is you'll be asked to provide a reference to UCAS that they can share with your university choices. So if you're applying through a school or college, you would pay for your application and your school or college will then attach an academic reference. So your current tutor or a course guide, whoever it may be that writes the academic references at your school or college, and they would upload that to your UCAS application, and it would include any predicted grades for any ongoing qualifications. So it might be that you're in the middle of studying a qualification when you're applying through that autumn term. You obviously don't have your final grades just yet, so they would be able to add those predicted grades for you as well as that academic reference. Now, if you're applying as an individual, which, like I say, you can do through UCAS, you don't have to be a current student at a school or a college to apply to university. But if you're applying as an individual, you will still be asked for a reference. And you may be thinking, well, who do I ask? Or, who's right to ask for a reference? Or it might be quite off-putting thinking about, well, I've had an employer recently, but they're not academic or they don't know me academically. Well, UCAS can hopefully help with that. So you could ask a former teacher or tutor if you have studied relatively recently. But if you left education a few years ago, then you may wish to ask an employer or current volunteering supervisor or trainer that you've for some staff training you've maybe been on recently, I don't know. But you are able to ask that professional reference, if you like, and UCAS will consider that and send that on to your universities. It's important, hopefully, like with any reference, to be aware of, don't ask families or any members of family or friends or a partner or ex-partner, as it may impact your application, and your application may actually be cancelled to certain universities if you do that. But why they would look to consider a professional reference is they can help a university admission staff gain a more holistic sort of view of you as an applicant as a whole. So it can include your personal attributes and your ambitions. So it helps the university understand the applicant's capability to succeed, which is a crucial part of the decision-making process. So like mentioned about personal statements, it gives the university admissions service teams something more to consider other than just the sort of formal aspect of the application in regard to your academic achievements and qualifications. So if you're thinking, well, I would like to apply to university, but I don't know who I would ask as a reference. If you do work at the moment, or if you have worked previously, it may be that you have a relevant professional reference that you can ask that will give that insight to you as an individual, your work ethic, what you're like as an individual, that will be relevant. So don't think it's irrelevant to what you're applying to. It will give that broader understanding as what you're like as an applicant. Obviously without that sort of academic reference side to it. So yeah, just something to consider on referencing, hopefully put some minds at ease in regards to who you can ask for that reference. And then really quickly, just to finish, again, student finance is something that as a mature student, more often than not, mature students, when again are contacting the university on our course inquiry centre, or we're speaking to university potential prospective applicants, people want to know more about student finance. So I've just got 2 slides on student finance, which goes in no way to cover everything you need to know about student finance, but hopefully just introduces you to some aspects of it, and then we can look as to where we can find out more information. So the 2 main costs of studying at higher education are your tuition fees and your cost of living. So it might be at the moment you have certain outgoings, you have family to support, you have a full-time job or a part-time job, or you're just out of work for whatever reason, and you think, well, how would going to university look in terms of my context and my situation, in terms of the outgoings I have and my living costs? Well, hopefully student finance can go some way to support you with both of these aspects. And you apply online at gov.uk/student finance. So it is a separate application process to that of UCAS. You apply separately for your student finance. And essentially you can apply for a tuition fee loan that meets the full cost of your tuition, which can be up to £9,250. So more often than not, students take out a tuition fee loan to cover the cost of their tuition each academic year, because who has £9,250 lying around to pay university? Now, this tuition fee loan does not depend on your household income, and it's paid directly to the university or provider. So you don't see that money. It doesn't come into your bank account for you to then pay somebody or transfer or bank transfer it to a university. It goes direct from student finance to your provider. Whereas the living costs support is through what's called a maintenance loan, and that is paid directly to you, the student. Now, the amount you're entitled to may depend on your current situation and your own individual context. So it might factor in things such as household income, whether you live with your parents or partner, and whether you study in or out of London, where obviously the cost of living is slightly higher. And you receive this money yourself to your bank account that you would provide information on in termly installments. So usually you would receive that in 3 termly installments, the beginning of September, in and around the new year, and then in and around sort of Easter time for the final semester. And like I say, you can sort of work out what you're entitled to by using a student finance calculator on the gov.uk website. So you'll be able to put in information, just sort of loose information, for you to get an understanding of what you may be entitled to as part of a maintenance loan, and also if you're entitled to anything further than a maintenance loan. Like mentioned, student finance is a huge piece in its own to do some research on. These couple of slides really is just to introduce you to, there is support for student finance and where you can find out more information about student finance. So have a look into tuition fee loans, have a look into maintenance loans and any additional support that you may be entitled to, and have a look on the student finance calculator, which you'll be able to use before you even consider applying to university. So you'll be able to play around with putting information into the calculator to see, right, this is what I would potentially be entitled to if I was studying full-time at university. And then how the repayments work, I just thought it worth putting one slide in about repayments, but again, you'll want to look into this yourselves, and we have different alternative sessions on student finance on their own. But student finance, student loans are really unique loans, and especially in regards to the repayments. So student loans do not appear on credit reports and therefore cannot affect your credit score. So do not affect any current or future mortgages you might be applying to or are paying at the moment or anything like that. It's a very unique loan system in line with government support, obviously. And your tuition fee loan and any maintenance loans that you take out are combined into one single loan repayment. And what's most unique about the repayments is it's based on how much you earn in the future, not how much you owe, which is very different to any other loans. If you have experience of taking out loans in the past, and interest rates on how much you owe, or the time taken to pay back is very different on student finance loans. It is based on how much you earn, not how much you owe. And repayments are based on 9% of your income over £27,295 a year. That's the current threshold for repayments. It might change year on year going forward, but at the moment, that's what it is. And if your salary falls below that amount, then your payments will stop. So you would not be paying anything if you're not earning over that threshold. They're repayable from the April after you graduate or leave your course. So you've got hopefully that few months. Usually you graduate in the summer or you'll finish your course in the summer. And it wouldn't be till that following April that you would look to start making those repayments if you're earning over that threshold. And payments are automatically deducted from your salary. So if you work at the moment, you'll be used to seeing your tax deductions on your pay slip, and then you would have an additional line that says student finance, and it would take off any income that you any relevant amount that you owe based on your income over that threshold. And then if for whatever reason you haven't paid off your full student finance loan, then the government support writing that loan off after 30 years. So again, just something to consider for the now. You'll be able to look into this, and there's alternative sessions that you can look to find out more information on regards student finance. But as a real top line, there is support there for both your tuition and for your living costs and supporting you with your living. And the repayments will be based on how much you earn, not how much you owe. And if you don't pay the full amount off, then the loan is written off after 30 years, which makes it very different to any sort of, any other loan that you may be used to finding out information about. So just something to consider on student finance. And there's further support available for financial support, such as childcare grants, parents' learning allowance, adult dependence grants, disabled students allowance if relevant. And again, you'll be able to, when you put your information into the student finance calculator, get an understanding of if you're eligible for any of those additional grants or support. And like I've sort of hopefully mentioned throughout the talk here, you can always contact a university. So here at the University of Cumbria, we have our student finance expert support team at moneyadvice@cumbria.ac.uk, who you're more than welcome to contact with any questions about student finance, or in general, any additional support that you want to know more about, or that you have any questions about. And you're always welcome to contact universities with those kind of questions, even if it is before you apply. So do make the most of speaking to relevant expert teams to find out more about what you have maybe concerns about or questions about, and what's maybe impacting you make an application. So do always look to reach out to these staff teams. And as I'm aware that we've gone on a little bit longer than maybe planned, so it is quite a long recording. Hopefully you can maybe take some breaks and pause on certain slides that you want to find out more information about. But next steps would really be to visit our own website if you're interested in the University of Cumbria. So you can visit cumbria.ac.uk/choose Cumbria, where you'll see various different resources on there. As mentioned, look to attend any open days, be it virtual at the moment that you can. We actually have a series of virtual open days throughout the summer, and then possibly hoping to return to more face-to-face events into the autumn term. And again, different universities will be different, so keep an eye on different universities and whether they're running virtual open days or whether you can get out face-to-face and meet some people on campus. And really do make the most of resources on UCAS. Have a look on the UCAS website in regards to application support, in regards to the information that they have on there in terms of course search tools that you can use, and really make the most of that as a central resource. And then look to access further support. So for all the topics we discussed today, that we have additional on-demand sessions on our website, which you would link to through that Choose Cumbria page to find out more on student finance or writing a personal statement. They each have their own individual support session that you'll be able to watch in your own time if you wish to, or you'll be able to contact us at outreach@cumbria.ac.uk and ask any questions you might have to build on anything that we've discussed today. And Abby and the Hello Future team have lots of great resource on their website, different YouTube videos like this one, and that you'll be able to keep an eye out for, as well as some additional resource on there, which is also really helpful and really useful. So yeah, that's me. Appreciate that this session has gone on a little bit longer than expected. So thank you for sticking with me. Hopefully that information has been useful for you all in regards to the stage that you're at as a mature student considering university. And we hope to see some of you either online, meet you online, or hopefully face-to-face at some of our events in the future. So yeah, brilliant. Thanks everyone.